The Siege of Lyme Regis was an 8-week blockade during the First English Civil War. The port of Lyme Regis, in Dorset, was considered to be of strategic importance because it controlled the main shipping route between Bristol and the English Channel. Thomas Ceeley and Robert Blake commanded the town's Parliamentarian defences during the siege, which was laid by Prince Maurice between the 20th of April and the 16th of June 1644. At the start of the war, Lyme Regis was claimed by a pair of local members of Parliament and garrisoned for the Parliamentarians. King Charles I ordered the capture of the town in early 1644, and sent his nephew, Maurice, with 5,000 troops. The siege was laid on the 20th of April, but despite a steady bombardment and 3 attempts to storm the town by ground, the earthen defences of the town that had been established by Blake held fast. Lyme Regis was regularly reprovisioned and reinforced by sea, weakening the effectiveness of the siege, and on the 14th of June, Maurice withdrew from the siege in the face of a relieving army led by Robert Devereux, 3rd Earl of Essex. Background: in the late 16th century, Lyme Regis was an important port, busier than Liverpool and one of the main links between England and mainland Europe. The combination of strong Puritan beliefs and demands from King Charles I for ship money meant that upon the outbreak of the First English Civil War, the town was sympathetic to the Parliamentarian cause. 2 local members of Parliament, Thomas Trenchard and Walter Earl, claimed Lyme Regis for the Parliamentarians in 1642, and set about fortifying the town. Thomas Ceeley, another local MP, was assigned as governor of the town and its forces. He immediately set about removing those with royalist loyalties from the area, and sent harrying forces around the region, as far as Exeter and Somerset. Lyme Regis had no permanent fortifications, and Sir Robert Blake established a set of earthen walls, ditches and forts around the perimeter of the town. By the end of 1643, most of the southwest was under royalist control. Only Plymouth, Poole and Lyme Regis held out against them. The Parliamentarians controlled the navy, and Lyme Regis was strategically important due to its location between Bristol and the English Channel. In early 1644, Charles I ordered Lyme Regis to be captured, and sent a large force under the command of his nephew, Prince Maurice. Siege: Maurice marched towards Lyme Regis in March 1644, and initially set up a garrison in the town of Beaminster. Further, a detachment of troops captured and then razed Stedcombe House, a property of Earl's that he had garrisoned. On the 19th of April, a fire devastated Beaminster and forced the royalist troops to move, establishing the new quarters at Axminster. The following day, Maurice marched his army of around 4,000 men to around 0.75 miles of Lyme Regis, and then, after some posturing between the opposing forces, the royalists captured Hay House, roughly 0.25 miles from the town, which had been garrisoned with around 30 defenders. On the 3rd day of the siege, the attackers set up their artillery on the west side of town, and began a bombardment. But the next day Ceeley sent a force of 190 men to attack the battery, and forced the royalists from the position. New batteries were set up around the town, and the besieging forces continued to attack the town with their ordnance. On the 28th of April, Maurice ordered an advance on the town, but the attack got little further than the range of musket shot. The next day, the town was restocked with ammunition and food, and reinforced with just over 100 men from 2 Parliamentarian ships, the Mary Rose and the Anne Joyce. Throughout the war, the garrisoned army was supported by the women of the town. They aided in the building of the earthen fortifications, and then later disguised disguised themselves as men during the siege to make it appear that the town was held by more troops than it really was. They also ran ammunition around the town and helped to reload the weapons. Their efforts drew comparisons to Joan of Arc, and an essay was written by James Strong detailing their achievements, entitled Joanieriados, or Feminine Valor Eminently Discovered in West County Women at the Siege of Lyme, 1644. Over the following week, the Royalist forces held the siege, but did not engage with the town again until the 6th of May, when they attacked the town in 3 places during a thick fog. The defenders were caught out slightly, as many of the soldiers were eating their evening supper. The Parliamentarians rallied quickly, and within an hour had repelled the attack. An account kept by the Lyme Regis garrison records that around 100 of the besieging army had been killed, while the garrison had only lost 1 man. The following day, Maurice requested a parley so that the dead could be buried. That request was granted, in exchange for the town's defenders being able to claim any weaponry on the battleground. Over the next week, there was little fighting between the armies, and a further 7 ships arrived to aid the town, including 240 soldiers from Sir William Waller's army, and on the 15th of May a further 120 men were sent by the Earl of Warwick. The Royalists turned their attention to the harbour over the next week, placing artillery units on the cliff tops above it, and bombarding any ships within. On the morning of the 22nd of May, such an attack sunk a barge laden with malt and peas, and was followed by a raiding party of around 50 men that evening, who attacked the harbour, setting fire to the barges that remained. During the fighting to drive them back, Captain Thomas, who had commanded the town's cavalry, was mortally wounded. Pine died of fever 4 days later, despite the attentions of a surgeon. The Earl of Warwick arrived on the 23rd of May with 8 ships and the promise of as much help as he could provide, including 400 of his seamen to help garrison the town. Pine's funeral was held on the 27th of May, and upon the firing volley from the town's ordnance and musketeers, the besieging army signalled a second attempt to storm the town. The town came under a barrage from the enemy batteries, and scaling ladders were brought against the earthen fortifications. Once again the attack was repelled by the town's defenders, and a parley request from Maurice in the immediate aftermath was turned down for fear of treachery. The town was further reinforced with 300 sailors the next day, before another attack on the town was launched on the 29th of May. A few ships had been sent as a decoy to split the Royalist forces, but only succeeded in sending a small detachment of cavalry and foot away, though they quickly returned when it was clear that the ships were not going to land. Around midday, the batteries began to heavily bombard the town, followed by a ground attack which managed to breach the fortifications. After 8 hours of fighting, the Parliamentarians rebuffed the attack. 14 more ships arrived 2 days later, bringing further provisions and ammunition, and news that a relieving force would be sent to aid the town. By this stage, Maurice realized that he was unlikely to be able to capture the town, and so was determined to destroy it instead. Fires were set on the 1st of June, and then no attacks other than light bombardments were made until the 11th of June, when heavier, red-hot shot was fired to try and set more fires in the town. Despite orders to lay siege to the king's headquarters at Oxford, Robert Devereux, 3rd Earl of Essex, opted to attempt to reclaim the southwest for the Parliamentarians, first retaking Weymouth, and then marching towards Lyme Regis. Hearing of the fall of Weymouth, and the impending arrival of the Earl of Essex's relieving army, Maurice abandoned his siege during the night of the 14th of June. The 17th-century historian Edward Hyde suggested that Maurice had suffered some loss of reputation for having lain so long with such a strength before so vile and untenable a place without reducing it. Aftermath. Maurice retreated to Exeter, while the Earl of Essex continued down into Devon and Cornwall, after sending Blake to capture Taunton. Essex's campaign failed, suffering a total defeat at the Battle of Lostwithiel in early September 1644. His remaining forces retreated back to Dorset, leaving only Plymouth, Lyme Regis and Taunton under Parliamentarian control in the southwest. The Earl of Warwick sent a letter to Parliament detailing the hardships endured by the town during the siege, and requesting some speedy course will be taken for the relief. Parliament voted to grant the town £1,000 a year and that unconditional compensation should be paid to residents who had suffered losses in the siege. Lyme maintained a garrison through the war, finally disbanding in July 1647. Bibliography. Davidson, James. Axminster during the Civil War. E. Wills. OCLC 650,382,943. Ellison, Gerald. The Sieges of Taunton in 1644-5. Taunton, Somerset County Herald. OCLC 852,019,005. Hibbert, Christopher. Cavaliers and Roundheads. The English at War 1642-1649. London, HarperCollins. ISBN 978-0246-136329. Hyde, Edward. The History of the Rebellion and Civil Wars in England 2. Oxford, Clarendon Press, p. 680. OCLC 1,431,493. Morris, Robert. The Sieges of Taunton 1644-1645. Bristol, Stuart Press. ISBN 978-1858-040578. Moseley, Sophia. The Siege of Lyme Regis, What Inspired Inhabitants to Fight the Royalists. Dorset Magazine. Retrieved 21 July 2015. Powell, Rev. J. R. Timings, E.K. eds. Documents relating to the Civil War. Navy Records Society. Retrieved 21 July 2015. Roberts, George. The History of Lyme Regis, Dorset, from the earliest periods to the present day. Sherborne, Langdon and Harker. OCLC 794,348,030.